Selecting a wheelchair and all of its features is an important and often difficult decision. After all, you need to be satisfied that the one you have chosen is the most functional and comfortable for you. Investing time and effort in the setup process may eliminate problems from developing down the track. Trial a range of chairs with a variety of features in environments that will suit your lifestyle until you're confident you've made the right choice.
Choosing the right manual wheelchair is more complicated than it will first appear. There are many components that we need to consider. For example, are we after a fixed frame chair? Are we after a folding frame chair? Do we need to have a lot of adjustment within the chair frame? What size will it be? What type of front casters will we select? What type of rear wheels? Will we have solid tyres? Will we have pneumatic tyres? Do we need push handles? How high will those push handles be? Do we need anti-tip wheels? All these components will need to be discussed when we're looking at a new manual wheelchair. Your occupational therapist or your physiotherapist will help guide you in making the right decisions. Chairs come at a cost, they're not cheap, so we need to make sure they're set up for you correctly right from day one. Let's look at the components. Selecting the right material in your wheelchair frame is going to be quite critical. There are some performance benefits between one material over another. The two most popular choices are aluminium and titanium. One of the downsides of aluminium is that it doesn't absorb a lot of the vibrations through the frame. So, as a wheelchair user, if you experience spasms, if you experience fatigue, or if you do fatigue throughout the day, if you have issues stabilising your body when you're in the chair and pushing the chair, an aluminium frame may not be the best option for you because it may lead to pain, it may lead to less tolerance in the chair, which then means that you may not be able to sit in the chair for as long as you would actually like to. Because of the fact that titanium is a good shock absorber, then a lot of those issues that I spoke about with respect to spasms, fatigue and also pain may be reduced in a titanium frame. Many people will do a slide transfer into their vehicle and then collapse the chair and move it across their body to transfer. You will be able to do that by removing the cushion, folding the back canes and the push handles and popping your wheels off. That will then allow the chair to be light enough and small enough for you to then be able to transfer it across your body. When selecting the back of your wheelchair, you need to consider the back height, the back canes, the back angle, as well as the type of backrest that you put onto the wheelchair. All of these decisions are going to be based on the seating assessment that you're going to do with your occupational therapist or your physiotherapist. Now, the one thing that we know is that you will change throughout the years of having a wheelchair. If you're newly injured and getting your first chair, it's important to have adjustment through your back canes and your back support. So as you improve, we actually have the ability to change the chair frame for you and to make those changes as necessary. The back canes are two vertical posts that come up from the seat rail. If they are too tall, when you go to self-propel the wheelchair, you're going to make contact, your upper arm will actually make contact with the actual back canes. You may get bruising. Most people will accommodate their position in the chair so it doesn't happen. What you're essentially doing is shifting your sitting position in the chair. A lot of the times you're going to shift into a bad position or an asymmetrical position, and on the back of that you're not going to be using the chair and pushing as effectively as you need to. If the backrest is too low, you'll actually find that you'll probably lean forward and use your arms to support yourself because you don't have the support in your backrest. On the back of that, you'll actually find that you're not going to be pushing as much, and you may also slide forward in the chair to lean back on a taller part of your torso, which then means that you're not sitting effectively in the chair. Bad posture can lead to poor breathing and also poor use of the wheelchair as well. Back support that you can get in a wheelchair can be a slung upholstered back or a firm back. Firm backs are known as fixed backs, commercial backs or solid backs. Either way, it's important that in the seating assessment we determine whether a slung upholstered back is suitable or whether a commercially available back is also going to be the better option for you. One of the advantages of a commercially available back is that it will actually allow you to sit up straighter and possibly for a longer period of time. An upholstered back does sag over time, and because it does sag over time, you'll find that you'll probably fall into a more slouched position. And in doing so, when we slouch, we collapse our lungs, therefore it makes it a little bit harder to breathe. But in addition to that, our arms are actually in a more forward position, which can impact how we also propel the wheelchair. The commercially available backs come in different shapes and sizes. Some are quite flat, others can be quite curved. We can also add additional supports as necessary. The important thing is to make sure that the back that is selected is actually selected based on the sitting assessment that was determined with you and your therapist. The back supports are also removable, so if you do have a folding frame chair or you need to collapse a rigid frame chair, then you can remove the backs quite easily. The seat dimensions are going to be determined by your body dimensions. The outside of the cane to the outside of the cane is considered your seat width, and then from the back canes to the front of where your cushion will live is considered your seat depth. It's important to get the seat width correct, because if the chair's built too wide for you, then you're going to find that your hands have to come out further to actually push the chair. That's going to place a lot of strain on your shoulders as well as your elbow and your wrist joints. So it's going to be a less efficient stroke when you're actually pushing the chair. It's important you consider the environments you're going to be taking the chair to make sure that you have the right chair dimensions. Supermarket aisles, public toilets, often you don't have a lot of room. So we want to make sure that the chair is as narrow as possible for you to navigate everywhere, but make sure that it's not too narrow that you start to compromise how you're actually sitting in the wheelchair. With respect to the length of the chair, a lot of that will also be based on not only your thigh length, but the type of back support that we have. If the chair is too long, you are going to slouch in the chair, which is going to compromise how you're sitting and therefore how you're pushing in the wheelchair. One of the nice options we have with push handles these days are actually a fold down push handle, where with the press of a button, we clear the push handles away. When we talk about seat to floor height, we actually talk about the front seat to floor height, but we also talk about the rear seat to floor height as well. As you can see on this chair, you'll actually find that the front seat to floor height sits higher than the back seat to floor height. The angle of your wheelchair will be determined by your ability to sit at a certain angle. If you're a newly injured person, the distance between the front seat to floor height and the rear seat to floor height will actually be greater. Most chairs will actually offer you adjustment in your seat to floor heights. That is, we can adjust the front and the rear seat to floor height as you improve. The position of the rear wheel is probably one of the most critical factors in setting up your wheelchair. When we talk about the position of the rear wheel, we're talking about the centre of gravity, or the balance in the chair. The further forward the rear wheel is, the more manoeuvrable the chair is going to be, the better the turning circle. The further backwards your rear wheel is, then the more stable the chair is going to be. So finding that balance point is going to be dependent on your ability to sit up in your chair, your ability to hold your upper body in your trunk, and also the environment that you're going to be in. We might find that if we live in a really hilly area, then we probably need to keep the chair a little bit more stable, because when we go to push, we don't want to tip over backwards. Another aspect is going to be the height of the wheel in relation to yourself. So when you go to push the chair, you don't want the wheels too high that you're lifting your shoulders when you're actually pushing. Alternatively, you don't want them too low that you have to lean and reach for them. So the general rule is to make sure that your elbows are kind of relaxed in a 90-degree position. That will give you the best ability to be able to reach as far back as possible and then push through when you're propelling a wheelchair.